Hi everyone, thanks for joining me once again. This is Peter, you're watching Thailand Bound, and it's story time once again. I've got 5 great stories for you today as always. Now before I get into these stories, I just wanted to mention something about the last story last Saturday. Do you remember that heart-wrenching story about the lady Nan who drowned at sea? Lots and lots of comments coming from you guys, but I just want to address a couple of things. Several people wrote to me and said, Peter, you must be a really hard-hearted man to not, to be able to read that out and not have a tear in your eye. Guys, it's not true. I actually recorded that about 5 or 6 times before I got it out, because as I read the story, I kept welling up and my eyes filled with tears. It was so sad. And if you go back and look at that video, right at the end, other people said, oh, you didn't advertise any videos or your live stream or anything. I just ended it by saying thanks for watching, guys. And the reason for that is by the time I got to that point in the video, again, I was just about to start to well up. So I just said goodbye and ended it. And if you look really careful, you can see I'm starting to well up. So it was a real sad story. Pat, the husband of Nan, as I called her in the video, contacted me and he thanked me. He said he not enjoyed, that's the wrong word. He said he liked the story. It was a good dedication. He said he cried when he watched it. And the photograph at the end was what did it for everybody. When that picture came up of her, the tribute, most guys who watch his channel kind of broke down and welled up and tears came out. Anyway, I just wanted to let you know that Pat's going back to Thailand in June with the sole purpose of taking Nan's ashes back to her home country and putting her to rest. So that's good. I can feel myself starting to go again, so I think I'll get straight into these stories now, guys.
สวัสดีค่ะ
Okay, I don't think you'll be shedding any tears today, so that's the good news. As I said, I've got 5 stories. Some are very short, some are quite lengthy, and as always, I'll just jump straight in. So with the first one, I would like to tell you about an experience that I did not have because of your stories. Before I begin, I would like to tell you a little bit about myself so you can put things into perspective. You might remember me from a while back. I asked you about a street in Patong and you suggested Bangla Road. Thank you. I made my first trip to Thailand in 2016. Since then, I've gone to Thailand 14 times: Bangkok, Chiang Mai, Pattaya and Phuket. I do not smoke, drink or do drugs. I do not care for the noisy bars, bar girls or the gentleman clubs. I guess some people would call me a cheap Charlie. However, I just love the massage shops and the massage girls. To me, they are the best. So here is a story. At the far end of Nanai Road in Patong, there is a little massage shop called Boonrang Sauna. It is a nice, spacious, quiet place with a little bar. You can sit in the sauna and the jacuzzi tub for as long as you like for 150 baht. While I was in there, 2 beautiful ladies come in and start taking pictures for a photo shoot to promote their cosmetic line. It is a sort of fun watching these pretty ladies pose. Shortly after the photo shoot, they started going into the sauna and the jacuzzi, and I stuck up a conversation with one of them. She spoke good English. This lady is, I would guess, around 35 years old. She said she was a tour guide and because of the pandemic, she had to find other work, and that is why she was promoting her cosmetic line. She started warming up to me and became very friendly, which feels good. She offered to take me around Phuket and show me all the beautiful sights. Quite frankly, I have seen all of the scenic views that I care to see, but it might be fun just to do something different. I suggested we have dinner at the Austrian Garden, walking distance from my hotel. She was familiar with the restaurant and the area and even pointed out a bank that is close to my hotel. She declined my invitation and started to tell me about a wonderful seafood restaurant on this beach with which she was familiar. We called and texted each other on the Line app. She said she has a car and would show me around all the beautiful sights and we could go to this beautiful restaurant on the beach. It started to sound good. Then a little later, she sent me a lot of pictures of the beaches and said I was her first customer in over a year. Immediately, I suspected here's the catch. I texted back and asked if it was going to cost me anything. She replied, just feed me and pay for my gas. So we made plans to go the next day and I asked her to pick me up at my hotel. I went to bed that evening thinking, 72-year-old man, 35-year-old lady, meet at a bank that has closed its doors for good, so no cameras. would be working, and she would not meet me at my hotel just 2 blocks away from the bank. Then the thought of getting into a stranger's car and going to places that I have no idea where we are going, and to a restaurant that I do not even know the name of, so fear started to creep in. And my safety was called into question. It just did not sound that safe, and if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Then I started thinking of all the stories that I have heard you read out on your YouTube channel. These poor guys that go into these restaurants with these ladies and get overcharged, knocked around and forced to give PIN numbers to their credit cards. So I text her back and let her know that I just did not feel it was safe and that I would not be participating. So he made a good decision. I mean, it could have been okay, couldn't it? She might have been a genuine lady, but it did seem a bit suspicious that she wouldn't come to the hotel and she wanted to take him to places that he didn't know. Just as a footnote on this video, guys, Thailand's a very, very safe country. There is and I'll stress this word, the occasional incident where guys get, this sort of thing happens, or they go into a karaoke bar and, they get kind of leaned on a little bit to pay more than they should. But it's nothing to fear. If you keep your common sense about you, it's very, very rare.
สถานีต่อไปนานา next station นานา
Okay, so this next story is a nice little interesting story. Well, it's not too little, it's quite a lengthy story, but it was sent in to me a few weeks ago by a younger guy. When I say younger, I'm talking 35. Story was from when he was a bit younger. So the title of this story is My Life in Asia. I grew up in a gloomy, depressing town in northern England, but have been fortunate enough to come from a family of travellers. My father was a backpacker before meeting my mother, and we often took exotic holidays through my childhood, inspiring my own personal travel desire. I'd had one long-term girlfriend and a couple of short-term girlfriends in England, but after university found myself unemployed in the heart of the recession with a desire to leave for greener pastures. In 2012, at the age of 22, I decided to embark on my first solo trip, a 5-month trip to the USA, where I worked in a summer camp coaching kids. There I met and dated a wonderful girl from New Jersey. While we tried the long distance thing soon after I returned to the UK, the relationship fizzled out. One of those summer flings, I guess. We ended it very nicely and I wished her all the best. However, soon after returning to the UK, I fell into the post-travel blues. After my incredible experiences in the US, I was back in my gloomy hometown with limited unemployment opportunities and had fully caught the travel bug. My desire to leave for good was stronger than ever. I enrolled on a TEFL teaching course, and in early 2013 I found myself on the 18-hour flight to Bangkok. I recall the first thing that struck me when leaving Bangkok airport was the colour. While I had been to tropical countries in my childhood, I had never actually taken the time to appreciate it. After having been in the UK winter for months, the vibrant blue skies and the lush green trees made me feel like my eyes were in HD. Apart from the USA, I hadn't travelled anywhere in my adulthood with such incredible tropical colours. I studied the TEFL diploma and was placed in a school in a coastal town about 2 hours from Bangkok with 2 other guys from my course called Rob and John, who were both American. For the first couple of weeks, we explored everything in town. I was blown away by everything. Like many of the young travellers to Thailand, I wasn't interested in the bars or even dating Asian women originally, but when I got there and saw how stunning the girls were, I couldn't help myself. I became infatuated with one of the department heads of my school, a Thai woman called Mott. Mott was 5 years older than me but lived with her parents. We soon started dating, which quickly became serious. For the first couple of months things were great, but soon Mott started to become gradually more controlling. She would always ask where I was, who I was with, and asked me to send selfies to prove who I was with. It became full on and I was soon becoming unhappy. However, as a government worker, I knew she was far more powerful than me. She would say that if I left her, she would cancel my visa or make me lose my job, among other things. Then afterwards would say she was only joking. Remember, I was fairly young, so this was all believable to me. I ended up staying with her out of comfort and fear, I guess, and I became more isolated from other Westerners, even from Rob and John. At the end of the school year, Rob and John both left and I moved to another school which was dominated by cliquey Filipino teachers. I soon found myself very lonely. Me and Mott stayed together for a year and a half, and although most of the time I was unhappy, my normal day consisted of work. Then I would pick Mott up at her parents' house, which involved me sitting around her house while she gossiped with her super traditional parents before we would go out for dinner. Then I had to make sure she was home for 9 p.m. or her parents would complain. One day I got a message from an old friend from my hometown, Len. Len had always been attracted to Asian girls and had recently been through a bad breakup. Len told me he was planning to visit Thailand during my school holidays and we should travel and party together. Finally, I had something to look forward to. Soon, Len came and I finally had an excuse to break free from Mott's grip to spend some time with an old friend, and Len asked me to meet him at the Nana Hotel in Soi 4, which up until then I knew nothing about. When I got there, I saw Len was with a good-looking Thai girl at the bar which used to be there before it was replaced with Hooters. I joked with him that he wasn't wasting any time and he told me that he had met the girl on the flight over as she had been working in the UK. We caught up with everything. He told me he was jealous of me for being able to live around this all the time, but I told him my life wasn't so rosy since I had a controlling girlfriend who I was sick of. Len's girl, whose name was Meow, that's spelled M-A-E-W, caught wind of this and arranged for one of her friends to spend some time with me, and I ended up cheating on Mott. I'm not proud of it, but I was so unhappy with her that I couldn't help myself. The next day I called Mott and broke up with her. She was upset, but luckily her threats were hollow. She wasn't going to make me lose my job, thankfully. But what had become of this? I had grown a taste for the bars. For the past 3 days, me and Len stayed in Bangkok with the two girls, mostly chilling by the pool or visiting Terminal 21 during the day and partying in Nana or soicowboy by night. Then we separated for the next several days as the two girls went to visit their hometown in Isan, while me and Ben went down to Pattaya, sampling the fun of walking street, then the islands, before reuniting with the two girls in Bangkok again for the next 3 days. Mia was rather affluent, paying for drinks, dinner, gifts for all of us. Len ended up falling for her, but soon it was time for us to all part ways. The girls were going to work in Oman, whatever that meant. Len was going back to the UK and I was heading back to my hometown again. It was the most fun I'd had in my 2 years in Thailand, and I was truly sad when it came to an end, but Len was even more so. While promising to keep in contact with him, after we all separated, Len never heard from Meow again. Even the girl I was with, I didn't know where she was, as they were in different parts of Oman. There were rumours she got arrested and other rumours she went to Hong Kong. Len never got closure from Meow, and I know he had fallen for her hard. Len ended up coming to Thailand twice a year ever since. I returned to work with my newfound freedom. I started enjoying Thailand again. While Rob and John had left, I met the expats in my town and befriended some of them. Soon me and a couple of the guys started taking regular trips to nearby Pattaya for the weekends, enjoying the choice of food and the nightlife. I was happier than ever. After a few months of this, I matched with a girl called Jib on a dating app. We met and immediately fell for each other. We dated for a while and I moved to Pattaya to be with her. Jib worked as a receptionist in a condo building and occasionally moonlighted in a pizza restaurant. This went on for several months and we started making plans. Knowing that Thailand wasn't ultimately the place to settle, we decided to get married with the ultimate plan of returning to Europe. It was only a small wedding just to get the official document that would allow us to be together. In 2016, I returned to the UK with a promise that Jib would be able to join me in the UK soon. To my horror, upon returning to the UK, I learned that the UK has some of the strictest visa requirements in the world to bring in a fiancé. I needed a salary of at least £18,600 per year, along with a bank statement to verify this. As a returning expat in a northeastern town, this was impossible. I felt defeated and planning to go back to Thailand when I learned of something called the Surinder Singh route. Basically, with this, as an EU member, you were able to move to another EU country and your non-EU spouse could join you as an EU requirement. Then after a few months, it was possible to return to the UK together. With Brexit looming and this no longer being an option in the future, I set the plan in motion. As an English teacher, I found a job in Italy and soon Jib was able to join me there. At the beginning, it was great. She was so excited to be in Europe and we really did enjoy it. But good things never last. The UK started getting stricter on the Surinder Singh requirements to close this legal loophole. Even couples who had legitimately lived in Europe for years were being rejected by the Home Office for visas. Many chose to stay in their EU and ditch the UK altogether. We would need to stay in Italy for at least a year and document everything. However, being in Italy, which is famous for its red tape, and doing things under the table, was difficult. And combined with language barriers, it became very difficult to prove our very existence in Italy to the satisfaction of the UK government. To add to this, Jib couldn't find a job and we were dependent on my salary living in a country where neither of us had friends or family and which is much more expensive and complicated compared to Thailand. We felt bad for each other and soon started arguing on a regular basis. This went on for over a year and after setback, it just became too much. The stress of trying to get the documents needed to go back to the UK became the theme of all our troubles, along with the fact that I didn't even really want to go back to the UK anyway, but Jib was dead set on it. I told her I wanted to go back to Thailand where at least we were happy, but she wouldn't back down. The love was gone and ultimately we split up and I went back to the UK while she stayed in Italy finding a job in Milan. We never officially divorced in all this time and never saw each other ever again. I was back in my hometown in the north of England and I fell into the familiar depression I had come to know so well. While I was happy to be with Len and my other friends and my family again, I just wasn't where I wanted to be. I found a job in an office and was hit by reverse culture shock harder than any culture shock in Thailand. I soon fell into a dull routine for several months, unsure of what I wanted to go, where I wanted to go, or what I wanted to do next. While me and a friend took a trip travelling in Scotland the following summer, we stayed in a hostel on Loch Ness, where I met a stunning Asian girl. Her name was Jing, and she was of Chinese background but from Vancouver, Canada. She was working in London as a systems analyst. We started dating and soon became serious. We shared our life stories up until then, and after several months together, I made plans to move to Canada, eventually to be with her. We even took a trip out there together and I fell in love with the place. But red tape being red tape, things are never easy and it took months to get the documents I needed. Jing moved back to Canada and we did the long distance thing for a couple of months before she broke up with me for another guy just 2 weeks before my visa was approved. I was crushed, even more than when I split from my wife or any other girlfriend. I had an approved permit for Canada, but it was the autumn months. By the time I would have the money saved to get established there, it would be midwinter and I would be going alone. I just wasn't mentally ready for that. I had a year to enter Canada from that day and planned to go back to Southeast Asia for the winter months, travel and teach again, which is something I enjoy. I enjoy the sun, give myself time to get over the breakup and come to Canada in the spring with a fresh mindset. Wanting to try something new, I decided to visit Vietnam. 4 months became 2 years as the pandemic put the world on hold. My visa for Canada expired, but I don't regret anything. Destiny has a way and ultimately will take me to where I need to be. I'm still in Saigon and enjoying life. Now 32, I've dated girls here, but plan to stay single to save money, focus on myself, study again and make up for the lost time I made in my 20s. I would like to revisit Thailand again, even if it's just to finalise the divorce with my ex-wife and take another night out with Len in Nanaplaza once again. Canada and the rest of the world will still be there. I'm sure I'm younger than many of your listeners, but if I could give any advice, I would say to research the spousal visa requirements of your country. While Canada and the US have it easy with their K1s and even common law options, us Brits have a nightmare with it, especially now after Brexit, without the Surinder Singh option. If I knew, I would have made an alternative plans and who knows where I would be now. But Captain Hindsight is a brutal beast, along with his 3 friends, shoulda, woulda, coulda. Never be afraid to leave an unhappy or toxic relationship. There's no shame in failing, even when you've tried your best. It's just part of life. Focus on your own desires and don't let anybody else tell you otherwise. Never underestimate the value of having even one good male friend, especially in a place like Southeast Asia. Women come and go, but true friends who have your back are extremely hard to find. Cherish the ones you have. Thank you for listening, and I hope you all enjoy my story. All the best, John. Yeah, he's made some very, very good points in that video. I was very lucky. If you guys know me, you watch my channel regularly, you'll know my wife is from South Korea. We returned to the UK in 2020 because we had young children. And in those days, it was a lot easier to obtain a British passport. I came in on with my wife on a 6 months marriage visa, and we were married here in the UK. We got the all the documentation, and she had a visa where she could stay as long as she wanted. But I decided at that time, luckily, because I didn't have any hindsight, I decided to apply for her visa, her English passport. It was only about £300, $400 at the time. She had to go to another town to a council office and swear allegiance to the Queen, hold her hand up, and it was, you know, it was just a quick ceremony. But she was approved. She has an English passport now. And in hindsight, looking back on that, if anything ever happens to me, she has all the true rights of a UK citizen. So I'm really glad I did it.
Next station, Siam, interchange with Sukhumvit line. Doors will open on the right-hand side of the train.
Okay, and into story number 3. I'm in my 50s, and when I went to Thailand for the first time in 2016, wow, first year was amazing. Went back in 2017. I made a few newbie mistakes, but nothing so bad, just little mistakes. In 2018, I visited Hua Hin, a great little beach town about 90 kilometers southwest of Bangkok. I met this fun girl who was a little crazy at the time. She was in her 30s and latched on to me. As a fun night drew to its conclusion, me and my friend said good night to everyone at the bar and was just about to leave when the girl I had drinks with turned and made a sad whimpering sound while at the same time asking me if she could come with me. Although a little crazy, she had a nice character about her, so I thought, why not? What's the harm? As it turned out, I had a fantastic night with this crazy little girl back at the villa where we were staying. The next day, we were relaxing around the pool with cold drinks, just chilling out. I told my new friend that my niece was backpacking around Thailand and was heading home in 2 days, but was on her way to visit me at the villa as we speak. My niece arrived and I was so happy to see her as I really love my sister's daughter. I didn't notice anything strange about my little Thai friend, but my friend said she seemed to be acting a bit weird, but I thought nothing of it. Later in the evening, we went out to some bars and my niece and the girl joined us. This girl started to get weird and became jealous because I was hugging my niece. I said, please don't be silly, it's my niece, my sister's daughter, but she started going crazy saying she's not your niece, she's your girlfriend. My friend tried to calm her down. He said to me, look, just get up, take your niece and go to another bar. I'll get rid of this girl and I'll join you in a bit. Me and my niece did exactly that. We moved to another bar. My friend joined us alone and we carried on with our night, which was a lot of fun. I told my friend, yes, the girl from last night was a little crazy, but she was also a lot of fun. Anyway, the night came to an end and the 3 of us headed back to the villa. We were all laughing and joking and saying that we had better be careful in case the crazy girl was hiding in the bushes back at the villa. Well, that's exactly where she was. When we opened the sliding doors to the pool, the place was covered in broken glass and she jumped out sobbing, saying, sorry, sorry, sorry. I told her, look, I'm very sorry too, but you need to leave. She refused to leave the villa and in the end I had to call security and they removed her. Later, her father turns up screaming and shouting and waving a machete about. We called the police, but we had to hide in and around the villa with all the lights turned out. It was terrifying. We still had 2 nights paid for at the villa, but my niece was heading back to Bangkok to catch her flight back home. No way did we want to risk another night in the villa, so me and my friend took the ferry from Hua Hin to Pattaya, which sadly no longer operates. When we were in Pattaya, I received photo messages from the crazy girl. She sent me photos of self-harm. She looked really sad. I did not mention that this girl was, I haven't mentioned yet that this girl was not a working girl. She wasn't working in the bar when we met. She had been dancing in another bar, but as a customer and not a bar girl. I had called her over. Looking back, I think she wanted to meet a foreign man, which is why she was there. I have no doubt in my mind that she has mental problems and needs help, but honestly, she scared the crap out of me that night. I've always been attracted to strange people in my life, but nothing like her. I know some people can get extremely jealous over nothing much like this crazy girl did, but to anyone who has never been to Thailand before, don't let this story put you off going. It's a fantastic country to visit. Just keep your wits about you at all time and never get too drunk. Peter, I wish I'd found your channel before I visited Thailand for the first time. Maybe this incident would not have took place, but I am now a seasoned traveller now, and I hope this little story helps others out. Well, you know, it's quite sad, isn't it? Because in Thailand, they don't seem to, I might be wrong, but they don't seem to have too much set up for people who need help with, you know, mental problems. You know, they're not fully gone where they're institutionalized. Is that the right word? But you do come across people from time to time who aren't quite right, and you know, it's not very often. Like I always say, you just have to you know, keep your wits about you. But that was unfortunate. I mean, obviously she went home. I don't know what she told the father, but for him to come back swinging a machete, it must have been quite a fabricated story as well. All right, let's go straight into story number 4. A little about myself. I live in Canada and I decided to visit Thailand in 2017, and I was 58 years old at the time. I was very excited to experience Asia, and since my brother retired in Pattaya, I had a wonderful luxury house to stay in during my visit. I decided to travel via China Air, which was a huge mistake. All I can say is that no one spoke English at all, and they fed us fish for breakfast, which was horrible. The stopover in Beijing from 1 a.m. to 7 a.m. was also a disaster, where they blocked off the entire area except for only one small section where I spent the most of the time on the floor. I finally arrived in Bangkok around 11 p.m. My brother had sent a car to take me to Pattaya. By the time I arrived in Pattaya, it was around 1 a.m. and I was super exhausted from the almost 40 hours without any sleep. It was great to catch up with my brother, who was very excited when I came to visit. The next day I woke up overlooking the beautiful pool and enjoyed the sunshine. At this point I thought, wow, all the hassle of getting here was worth it. Since I was staying for a month, I just took it easy. The first few days relaxing, eating good food and having a great conversations with my brother over lots of wine. He kept asking, why haven't you gone out to the bars to experience the life there? But I was reluctant to go by myself since my brother was married and not into the bar scene. Finally, after about 4 days, my brother convinced me to get out and enjoy what Pattaya had to offer. The journey from my brother's house to the beach area of Pattaya took about 15 minutes, and when I arrived, it was like walking into Disneyland. I went to many bars along the beach road and played pool with several girls who really surprised me with how good they were at the game, which made it very enjoyable. I never told them that I grew up in a pool hall and was close to being a professional. They were all very flirty with me and my ego enjoyed that. I must say, being able to have so many women interested in you was certainly a game changer for my vacation. I decided to play the girls for drinks, and if they won, I would buy them a drink, and if they lost, they would have to take off part of their clothes. They all wanted to play. They thought they were so good at pool, but little did they know my pool skills as at this point in the game. One by one I would win and they would take off one piece of their clothing. But of course, every few games I would let a girl win and get a drink, so they thought I was beatable. After a while, the Mama-san came to the table and saw the four of us with the 4 girls with no tops on. She asked if we could go to the back private room so it would not distract other customers. We all agreed. By the end of the night, all 4 girls had lost most of their clothes because they kept losing all the games of pool. Yes, they took turns, all thinking they had a chance for more drinks. At the end of the night, the bar was closing, and you can imagine by then, we were all having so much fun. I was laughing and hugging them all and still buying them drinks, even if they didn't win, because I wanted everyone to have a good time. Yes, it was an expensive night, I guess. If you call a 14,000 baht bill expensive, that's about 350 UK pounds or 400 US dollars. Money was not an issue for me, and hardly ever. It's just because of the luck, I guess, I've had in my life. Now, I had to decide which of these four pretty girls I was going to ask to come back with me to carry on drinking at home and perhaps share the swimming pool with in the following day, if you get my meaning. It was such a difficult decision for me to make, as all four of them were not only extremely attractive, but all four of them had bubbly fun characters. I asked them who should be my partner for the night. In the end, it was down to two of them, but neither of them could agree, so I asked, how about the both of you come home with me? They laughed and thought it was a good idea. So off we went, all hand in hand. Honestly, I felt like a rock star. Thank God I had a separate entrance back at my brother's house, so I didn't wake up my brother and his wife. When we all got back, we all fell asleep almost immediately, and when I woke up at about 1 a.m. the next day, both girls were gone. My brother had popped his head into my room to check that I had arrived home safely, and the two girls were fast asleep, one on either side of me. My brother just laughed, saying one wasn't enough. I just shrugged my shoulders and said nothing. What a great night I'd had. After that, I got fully into the Pattaya bar scene on a regular basis. No one back home would ever believe this could happen to an older guy like me, but this is just the way it was in Pattaya, and I will never forget this vacation. Now that the pandemic is in full swing these days, Pattaya is a distant memory for most guys. Lastly, what I would say to any older guys listening to this story, life is not over when you hit 60 or 70 or whenever. Take a chance. If you can visit the land of smiles, you should do so, as you will have a lot of fun, and it must be better than staying at home or watching the TV or propping up your local bar. Yeah, so quite a nice little story there. Yeah, you got to watch yourselves, because what he's saying about the girls being so good at pool, they all are. The girls that play pool, not only pool, they play this Connect Four and all these games at these beer bars. But a lot of guys go there, they don't suspect, because it's a girl working in a bar, they think they're better. They play pool regularly, these guys at home, and they think, well, I'll beat them easy. And don't forget, these girls, they play pool every single day with many, many guys, and they become good. Not only good, they become very good. So when you start making outlandish bets that if they if they beat you, you'll give them so much money or whatever, be really careful, because they're very, very good at pool. I've seen friends who are real good pool players, never lose. They've been beaten by these girls in the bar, so they are very good players. And they're also very, very good at this Connect 4 games. When you're playing them with Connect 4, you know, you're very casual, you're looking here, you're saying hello to that one. They're homing in on this game because they don't want to lose, because a drink's involved, and the drink involves money, and when it comes to money, the Thais don't mess about. They're going to win that game. Okay, guys, so be really careful. All right, so on to our last story. This is another nice story by a younger guy, and this will be a nice story to round up with. So, after graduating college at age 22, way back in 1987, I decided to take my savings and buy a ticket to Bangkok. At that time, New York's drinking age was 18. Despite the low drinking age, I was always being asked for ID, since I looked quite young for my age, given that I was underweight and had a baby face and was not that tall. I looked a little bit like Daniel Radcliffe in Harry Potter. When I went with my buddies to a bar, I was often pulled aside and was at least once accused of having a fake driver's license for ID, while my friends would easily be admitted into the bar. Bangkok would be my first trip on my own. Based on a book I read, I booked a room at the Malaysia Hotel, being a hotel in my limited price range. I am told that the hotel is still there, but way past its sell-by date. I spent my first day doing some touring and shopping and got back to the hotel relatively late for dinner at around 9 or 10 p.m. I decided to go to the hotel's 24-hour restaurant. While dining alone, I saw three girls dining together at the next table. The girls invited me over to their table, and they began instantly feeding me from their plates with their chopsticks, until I begged, please, no more. I was so full I couldn't eat anymore. I agreed that I would pick up the tab for everyone, given it was not an expensive restaurant. I soon paired off with the one I thought was the cutest. Her name was Noi, and she said she was 30, but she might have been a few years older. She was still in good shape and had quite a nice slim figure common among the Thai girls. I quickly found out that she was a freelancer and she did teach me a few things, if you get my drift. In the morning, I asked her if she could stay with me, and after that we went everywhere together. She introduced me to various bars in Bangkok that played Western music, and remember, this was 1987, before Western music in bars was quite normal like it is today. Whenever she introduced me to her friends, they would automatically start teasing her for my benefit and would squeeze in the English term young boy. Young boy, so I would get the gist of what was being said. After about a week or two, I decided I wanted to go to Chiang Mai, so we booked 2 tickets on the overnight train with sleeper compartments in second class. These sleepers were basically convertible seats that the train crew would pull out at bedtime. They were double-decker and about half the width of a train mattress. The crew would then give each passenger a blanket and a pillow. There were no separate compartments, and the sleepers would just be arranged on both sides of the aisle where the seats were previously. Noi suggested that we should both sleep together in the bottom bunk despite the lack of space. So I thought, why not? I was only 22 at the time, pushed together in the narrow sleepers. I did try to make a move on Noi, but she insisted that we were there only for sleeping. How I ever fell asleep that night is beyond me. The train crew came along to collect the blankets and pillows and to convert the sleepers back to seats. When the crew member came to our area, he asked, where is the blanket and the pillow for the top bunk, which was now missing. Noi explained that we didn't know what had happened to them. The crew member did not look convinced, and a few minutes later 2 trained security guards came over in full uniform with firearms on themselves. The older policeman started questioning Noi quite sternly, and I started to check I had enough cash to cover the missing blanket and pillow. In my naive mind, I was wondering if this would lead to something more serious that would be continued at the Chiang Mai police station. After a few crosswords between Noi and the policeman, and Noi pointing out to the lower sleeper, the Thai policeman looked at my friend, worried face, and then gave me a wink and a tap on the shoulder and walked away. The rest of the trip with Noi in Chiang Mai and the rest of Thailand was perfectly uneventful, and I gave Noi the last of my cash at the Bangkok airport as I returned home. And that's basically, that's a nice little story that I can imagine. I don't know if the guy continued, he was 22 at the time, so great memory. And obviously this was an older lady who kind of took him under her wing. And I don't know if the guy ever returned back to Thailand, but that would have been a great memory. He's probably married with kids now, and that memory of Noise probably sticks in his mind. It's probably one of the best memories of his life. Okay, guys, that's it once again for this week. So I'll see you on the live stream again on Friday at 9 p.m. and of course there'll be more stories on the following Saturday, but I have got some news for you, and that news is I'm confirmed. I'm booked on a Thai Airways flight out to Thailand for the middle of December, heading back at the end of the first week in January to go back to work. So I've got 3 weeks. I'm now in the stage of the Thailand pass, doing all that, and my 24-hour fit to fly PCR test. A lot of hassle, but if I can get to Thailand and enjoy 3 weeks, it's going to be worth it, isn't it? But more on that next week on the live stream. So until then, guys, once again, thanks for watching this video, and I'll catch you all on Friday. And if I don't catch you on Friday, I'll have more videos for you next Saturday. Thanks for watching once again, guys.